Hey guys, and welcome to episode 4 of my Junk Journal with Me series. Today I am working still out of my summer junk journal. This is a kind of jungle tropical theme that I have going on, and I will go ahead and leave the links to how I made this journal in the description box at the end of this video, as well as the top right hand of your screen if you're interested in learning how to make a junk journal or just seeing how I made this one. And I'm just going to be memory keeping about a few different things over the past few weeks. I have date night as well as back to school and Cub Scouts and a few other things to journal about. So I am just trying to fill this thing up. I kind of mentioned that in episode 3. I was playing catch up and just trying to get this thing filled so I can start my fall journal, which I plan on making out of a cereal box. So if you're interested in seeing that video when I do upload it, make sure you are subscribed and hit that little notification bell so you can be notified of when I upload that video. So right here, I just am trying to kind of figure out the layout of how I want things. I have this plant page out of a vintage housekeeping plant book that actually came from my grandmother. So I am just using some of my flamingo washi to go ahead and place that down because I want to use this kind of as like a fold or flip out page. And then I'm also securing the back. This is just a way to make sure it doesn't move around or come undone. On the flamingo page, I'm just gluing in this double pocket I sewed with some trim and actually a ticket stub from my first flight ever to Hawaii, I think back in 2002 or 2003. And I thought it was perfect for the theme of this journal. This is a thank you card from our realtor from when we bought our home back in May, and I'm kind of just making another flip out on that houseplant page. And with that flamingo tape, I'm kind of just making layers. And then down there in the right hand corner of this page, I actually sewed a little tuck spot onto the page prior to the filming of this video, and I did not include the footage of that because I am in no position to be giving anybody sewing advice or doing a tutorial on sewing because I'm still learning and it's a hot mess. I watch YouTube videos to try to learn how to use my sewing machine, and it is kind of a nightmare. So right here, I'm just making a little tag to put in that tuck spot. It's a picture of me and my mother-in-law. She took me to a concert over the weekend, so I'm just tying a little piece of string on to that tag, and I am just putting it right in that tuck spot. And then I actually went back and used some of my Tim Holtz Distress ink to kind of go around and ink up the edges of that tag, and I used the color, I believe it's called Chipped Sapphire. And I can use the back of that tag to go ahead and journal about the concert. And then right here, I'm just using a 4Ocean sticker that I got from a bracelet purchase that I purchased from the company a few months ago. And right here, I'm just adding a clear envelope. I got this from a friend who recently moved. Janice, if you're watching, thank you. Janice recently gifted me her entire collection of scrapbooking supplies, and I'm so grateful for you, and I'm actually using a lot of your things that you gifted me in this video. So if you're watching, Janice, thank you so much. And right here, I just added a couple of pictures of my kids on their first day of school. And up here on the top of the page, I'm just layering a tag from a piece of clothing. It's a little Smokey the Bear tag on top of a postcard letting me know that I was excused from jury duty in Washington State. I got it right after I moved back to California. And it's funny because the same thing happened when I moved from California to Washington a few years ago. I was summoned for jury duty right after I left. So I saved that card because I thought it was funny. And so right here, I am just adding in another flip out, and this is actually a tri-fold Polaroid photo holder, and I decided to add this to go ahead and put our pictures from our mountain bike ride over the weekend. We went through a really beautiful canyon and to a waterfall, and it was around a little bit over 6 miles that we did. And I think it's crazy how much the photo that I took looks like the image there on the left of that canyon. And right here, I'm just kind of doing a side by side because it was just meant to be. I thought that was crazy how that worked out. So I am just gluing those down. I decided to add another page to document our date night. So I just took that flamingo washi again and just added tape to the front and back. I added this palm tree sticker to the edge of this page. I thought it was fitting for the theme of this journal and also the theme kind of our date night, or I should say half of our date night. We went out to dinner at a sushi restaurant overlooking the ocean, so it was really beautiful. And I'm just using some of that scrapbooking paper that I used to create this journal, and I'm kind of just layering it and stapling pictures together and then gluing it down. I try to use as much of the leftover scraps from when I make journals to include in the journal itself, just so I'm not wasting any paper and it's all being used. For the next page, I decided to use this picture of my daughter and my husband. It was her first time riding her little bike. So here I am just going through some vellum packs, and I'm trying to find a little quote or saying to include in this spread. And then right here, I just have like this little jungle animal stamp set. And I don't have one of those fancy like acrylic blocks yet, so I'm just using my fingers. And I just found this really pretty leaf pattern that I'm kind of just using some green ink and going around and pressing that into the page. So I decided to use this little window die cut, and I wanted it to look kind of like I was from the inside looking out at my husband and my daughter. So I just took some of that cellophane from the little stamp set, and I just glued that on top of the window. That way I could create kind of like a little barrier and protective covering for the photo. And then I just cut off the excess. And I wanted to be able to remove the photo if I wanted to. So all I did to make that possible was just glue down the left side of the window. then right there, I just glued down the little home vellum piece, as well as like this little passport to adventure, little scrapbooking piece. And then I just slid in that picture of my husband and my daughter. And I really like how this page turned out. I think it's super cute. And so next I go on to glue in this picture of my husband working on the compost bin that he made for me out of some pallets, as well as this picture of my kids in front of a store. My son was selling popcorn for Cub Scouts. So here I am, I'm just taking some of that scrapbook, the scrapbooking scraps, and I just staple that down and then glue it down to the page. And now I'm just going back and adding the finishing touches to those pages I just worked on. So I'm just adding some more stamps to the pages, as well as going back and inking up the edges. And for the final page in this video, I decided to make a collage out of some pressed flowers that my husband had picked for me. I'm usually pretty good about writing down the date and where he picked the flowers, but sometimes I forget, and these particular flowers I found in a random book that I used to press them. I'm pretty sure these came from somewhere in Washington. You can tell they've been pressed for a while. They are completely dry. And so I just went ahead and made a little collage out of them. And then using my Tombow glue, I just went around and then glued them down to the page. Most of my journals have pressed flower art or preserved flowers, and that's because my husband really likes to pick me flowers, and I think it is the cutest and sweetest thing ever. He will literally stop on the side of the road in heavy traffic to pick me a flower. He has done that, and I think it is the sweetest thing ever. He's been doing that for the past 8 years, ever since we first started dating, and I hope he continues to do that for me, because I love all these little flowers that he picks for me. So right here, I'm just adding a piece of cellophane. Again, I like to reuse anything I can in my journals, and I'm just using that cellophane as a way to protect and preserve those flowers. So I just cut one edge open and I add some glue to the back, and then kind of just glue it down and fold the top over. And lastly, I just like to go back and kind of journal about what the picture or the page is about. And I don't always like to do all my journaling on camera, just because some of it's private, but here is the end result. I really like how these pages turned out. I love the multiple little flip out pages in the flip out page. It's like a trifold flip out on top of a flip out on top of a flip out. So I really like how these turned out. And don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my junk journal with me. And again, I will also include some links at the end of this video for reference if you are new to junk journaling, or you're just interested in what it's about. I will leave those links for you. And until my next video, I hope you guys all have a wonderful week. Thanks for watching. Bye.